Welcome to Camelia Tours Sri Lanka. Today we explore one of the most valuable trees found in Sri Lanka, the jack tree. Known for its enormous fruit, nutritious food, strong timber, and cultural importance, the jack tree has supported Sri Lankan families for generations. In many villages, almost every part of this remarkable tree is used. From delicious meal to beautiful furniture, the jack tree truly deserves its reputation as the tree of life. Right then, join us as we discover the amazing story of Sri Lanka's jack tree. The jack tree, scientifically known as Artocarpus heterophyllus, is one of the largest fruit-bearing trees in the world. It grows well throughout Sri Lanka and is especially common in home gardens and rural areas. Jack trees usually grow about 80 feet in height with the straight trunk branching out from the base. A mature jack tree can produce hundreds of fruits during a season. Some jackfruit weigh more than 35 kg and 90 cm in length and 50 cm in diameter, making them among the largest fruit that grow on trees. Young jackfruit, known locally as follows, is a popular ingredient in Sri Lankan cuisine. It is often cooked as a curry and is enjoyed with rice and other traditional dishes. The half-ripened fruit's outer skin is cut away and the whole fruit is cut into small pieces to make kosmellu. Kalufalmaluwa, alukos are some other ways to consume jackfruit. Perhaps you will be able to taste jackfruit in different ways during your stay in Sri Lanka. When the fruit ripens, it becomes sweet and fragrant. Ripe jackfruit, known as varaka, is loved by people of all ages and can be eaten fresh or used in desserts. One variety has a crunchy rather than mushy texture and is generally preferred. We call the crunchy variety varaka and the other vela. The stage of the maturity at which fruits are harvested depend on the intended use. When used as a vegetable, immature fruits are picked. At this stage, the fruits are rather dark green. The most reliable method to find if the fruit is ripe is to tap on it. If it produces dull, hollow sound, the fruit is matured but not ripe. The flesh and the seed are boiled together and eaten with scraped coconut and luminis. This has been a substitute for poor villagers' diet. Sometimes a jackfruit curry is cooked with the flesh and seeds and eaten with rice. Even the seeds are valuable. After boiling or roasting, jackfruit seeds become a nutritious and tasty snack. The benefits of the jack tree go beyond foods. Its timber is highly valued for furniture, doors, windows, and traditional wood carvings. The wood is durable, attractive, and resistant to pests, and also used to make some of instruments such as drums, giving them a unique resonance and culture significance. But it is not allowed to cut the tree. We should get the permission to cut a jack tree even if it is in our garden, and it is very expensive wood products in the market. The leaves provide food for livestock, while different parts of the tree have been used in traditional practices for generations. Jackfruit is rich in vitamins, minerals, fiber and antioxidants It provides energy and important nutrients that support a healthy lifestyle. Throughout Sri Lanka's history, the jack tree has played an important role in helping communities meet their food needs. For their reason, many people consider it one of the country's most important trees. Today, the jack tree remains a symbol of abundance, sustainability, and the close connection between nature and daily life in Sri Lanka. Here are some important uses of the jackfruit in Sri Lanka. Edible fruit. The most common use of the jackfruit in Sri Lanka is as a source of food. The ripe jackfruit is sweet and aromatic, and its yellow flesh is often eaten fresh. It can be consumed as a snack, added to fruit salad, or used in dessert. Jackfruit curry. Unripe or green jackfruit is a popular ingredient in Sri Lanka cuisine. It is used to make a delicious and nutritious curry known as polos curry. Jackfruit curry is prepared with a mixture of spices and coconut milk, and it is often served with rice or bread. Jackfruit seeds. The seeds of the jackfruit are also edible. They can be boiled or roasted and are similar in taste and texture to chestnut. In Sri Lanka, jackfruit seeds are sometimes used as a snack or added to various dishes. Jackfruit chips. Jackfruit chips are popular snack in Sri Lanka. Thin slices of unripe jackfruit are deep fried until crispy and seasoned with spices. They are a tasty and crunchy snack enjoyed by local and tourists alike. Canned and preserved products. Sri Lanka export canned jackfruit and jackfruit preserves to international markets. These products are convenient and have a long shelf life, making them popular for both domestic consumption and export. Traditional medicine. In traditional Sri Lankan medicine, Ayurveda, various parts of the jackfruit tree are used for their medicinal properties. The roots, leaves, and latex are believed to have therapeutic benefits for treating various ailments. Animal feed. Jackfruit leaves and other parts of the tree are sometimes used as fodder for livestock, providing a source of nutrition for cattle and other animals. Timber. The wood of the jackfruit trees is used in carpentry and construction, although it is not as widely utilized for this purpose as other timber trees. Latex production. The latex from the jackfruit tree can be used to make natural adhesive and sealants. Economic value. Jackfruit cultivation can be economically valuable for farmers in Sri Lanka. It provides a source of income through the sale of fruit, seeds, and other jackfruit-related products. Jackfruit is considered versatile and sustainable crop in Sri Lanka, providing both food security and economic opportunities. Thank you for watching Camelia Tours Sri Lanka. If you enjoyed learning about Sri Lanka's amazing jack tree, please like, share and subscribe to our channel. More exciting videos about Sri Lanka's wildlife, culture, history and beautiful destinations are coming soon. See you in the next adventure.